Ayman Khan here for Seconds Out with boxers Ben Shalom. Ben, I'm going to hit you with a curveball straight away. What's the sleeper fight, the fight that maybe has not been talked about the most that we won't want to miss at the weekend?
I think it's the Jamie TKV fight. It's on the stream. He's fighting Nick Armstrong, who's unbeaten, was going to fight for the English heavyweight title. We actually have high hopes for Jamie TKV. There's a lot of talk about him in the gyms in the heavyweight division. He's been putting guys on their arse and been working really well with Ben Davison and Barry Smith. And I think that is the fight, because I think Jamie TKV will show he's going to be a heavyweight to watch.
Yeah, I've heard from whispers from the people in the scene that Armstrong's a live contender in the fight.
Yeah, no, as I say, he was going to fight for the English heavyweight title. He's never been beaten. We offered him a deal he couldn't refuse, and it's a proper fight. But Jamie TKV will believe that he's levels above, and I think that's a fight to take now.
And moving on to the brightest light on the card, that being Adam Azim. He's just weighed in. He's ready to deliver another scintillating finish. Does he have to do anything different in the fight? We've seen the scintillating finishes. Do you want to maybe see him get the rounds and tick off that box?
I'd like to get rounds with Adam, 100%, because he'll need to. But ultimately, we've gone with someone very durable. We've gone with someone much more experienced than Adam, had a lot more fights than Adam, and unbeaten as well. So he's coming to win. Santos, I know, feels like this is his lottery ticket, and that should give us some rounds. But obviously, once Adam locks in, and once he gets in that ring, he is devastating, and he'll always look for the knockout. That's his style. That's what he wants to do. So, of course, for him, he'll want to get Santos out of there early. But I think for myself, for Shane, we'd like to get some rounds. But Adam's made a name for himself because he knocks people out, and that's what will likely happen on Saturday night.
In terms of the brightest prospects in the country who people think might make it in the future, even talking like future pay-per-view stars, where does Adam Azim rank in that ranking of fighters?
I think right at the top. I think his trajectory is crazy. I think even if you look back to the greats, even the Nassim Hameds, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were looking back at a lot of fighters in their first 10 fights. Not many that would be facing a guy like Santos Reyes in their 7th fight, headlining against an unbeaten guy, 12-0, who has good pedigree and is durable and knows his way and is coming to win. I think that shows the levels now. We're looking at a future, I believe, great of the sport. He's that good. It's going to be amazing to watch the journey and see people catch on, because this guy's going right to the very top. And I think he as a box office star could be we could be looking at 12, 18 months.
Speaking to Shane the other day, and Shane said to me, look, Adam and Caroline have to be having the same type of trajectory because they have that similar level of talent. And with the power that Caroline has, she's a bit of a unicorn, because in the women's side of the game, don't quite often have that level of power. She destined for the top there, Ben, sorry?
Yeah, Caroline, you just see, I saw her on Breakfast TV the other day. I couldn't believe it. We always knew she was going to come out of the show. We always knew what she stood for. She takes her position now very seriously. She wants to be an absolutely superstar in the sport. I think, genuinely, she has potential to be as big as Katie Taylor. I really believe that. I think she's something special. She's so young. She's so young. She's got so much to prove. I think she'll go through the weights, 4 or 5 weight divisions. I think she'll even fight a middleweight one day. I think she'll win world titles at all of them. But more importantly, she's growing. She's becoming a star. She's becoming comfortable with that attention. And her and Adam Azim, to have them in the same gym, ridiculous for Shane, because I think those two are on a similar trajectory, and in 12 months' time will be two of the very, very biggest names in British boxing.
Is the world title likely for Caroline this year, do you feel?
I think by the end of the year she wants to. She's the one hurrying everyone up. She's the one that has been mentioning Michaela Mayer's name and mentioning other lightweights' names, and she wants to move very quickly. She's got a lot. She wants to achieve a lot, and I think by the end of the year we'll be looking at something very close, if not a world title.
Ben, I just want to focus on you for a moment. Just how do you feel you've kind of been on and got to in the journey so far, from the time that you started in boxing to where you are now? It's been quite a rise. Where do you feel you are now in terms of your boxing journey?
I think we're in a very good spot, much better than we've ever been, because it's so exciting that for me, the fighters that turned over, we couldn't have done this last year or any time before. The fighters that turned over as debuting with us are now starting to blossom. The people on this card, the fighters on this card are our fighters that we've built. That's very, very different to putting on big fights and bringing fighters across. That's a different space for us, and obviously very exciting for the whole company. These fighters we've known for a long time, and I think that's the difference now. We're establishing our own stars, and that takes time. That takes a few years, and we're finally getting to that place, which was always a dream. So yeah, special.
You're a fresh face in boxing, and you've wanted to innovate, and you are innovating in the sphere with what you're doing with Boxer. There's a long-standing saying. I remember when I came into boxing, people were saying to me, they said, like, the longer you stay in boxing, the longer or the quicker you might feel like you start to hate or start to dislike boxing. Have you ever felt that feeling as you've gone along in the sport?
Everyone in boxing, whether fighters, promoters, managers, I'm sure you sometimes think, what are we doing in the sport? Because it's so frustrating, but it's so rewarding as well. Don't want to do anything else. I don't think, for me, this is the best industry to work in. Obviously, as with anything, there's days where it's hard, especially when we're now competing at the top. It's every day, it's relentless. But this is what we want to do. This is what we dreamt of doing. Still working with the same guys that I've got my license with, and we're here 5 years later. So the stress of working in boxing when you don't have the TV deals and you're making your way is actually a lot more than now having the support and the backing that we want and the fighters that we want. So it's different levels of pressure, but yeah, boxing is a great place to work.
In terms of the promotional side of things, I've seen you field this question before, but I'm going to throw it to you as well. Competition is thriving right now. A lot of boxing is being delivered to the boxing public. Where do you feel Sky Sports and Boxer rank in terms of delivering to the boxing public?
I think right up there. I think obviously last year was our first real calendar year, and we were relentless. We did more shows than everyone else on British soil. We put out as much as we possibly can. We try and give as many opportunities to our fighters, and we try and keep as many fights off pay-per-view as well. So I think right up there. But again, the more we start saying Ben versus Frank versus Eddie, the more I do think the sport suffers. I think there's great boxing on every platform. I think everyone's raising the game. I think there's fights everywhere. The sport is healthy. When broadcasters are competing this hard, that shows that there's interest, that shows there's numbers, that shows that it's in a good place. And as long as everyone keeps working hard and driving and we keep getting support of the broadcasters that we're getting, that's amazing for the sport. And I think long may it continue.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you don't want to look at the Ben versus Frank versus Eddie. That's fair enough. But do you look at the competition and kind of, look at what they're doing and look to one up them?
Not really. I think we want to do things differently, and sometimes that leads to mistakes. We do make mistakes. We're new. They've been in 40 years, 30 years. They are established. They have their way of doing things. They probably take less risks. We take risks. We'll do different things. We'll try and think outside the box. And so we don't really see ourselves as a traditional boxing promoter. And we'll see where that takes us, but not really. Obviously, it's competitive in the sense like you want to be giving as much value as possible. You want to be putting on the best fights. You want to be building the best stable. But everyone wants that, and that's only good for boxing. I don't think it's about getting one up. I think it's about making sure that there's good boxing on your platform, and you're bringing through the best fighters you possibly can. We're a lot earlier in our journey to be comparing ourselves to Queensberry and Matchroom, who are so much more established. We recognise, we're starting out, but we're doing well so far.
The other side of the question I want to ask you is, we field those questions to you about, Ben versus Eddie versus Frank and whatnot, but in terms of kind of putting yourself out there, your style of media, do you feel like the boxing public have got the Ben Shalom, the authentic Ben Shalom that you want to put out there to the boxing public too?
Look, I think we focus a bit, like, we don't focus really on myself. We focus on the shows, we focus on the brand, we focus on our broadcaster. The rest of it is hard to control. It is what it is. It comes with it. We're putting on big shows, we're putting on high profile shows, but for us, it's so early stage to even be caring about that, worrying about that. We feel we're 12 months or 18 months in now, and yeah, it's gone extremely well.
that's a conversation for another day that we can go in depth on. Moving on to a couple of other things, a couple of bits of news. Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez. What's the situation there, and where does that leave Jack Catchell searching for that rematch with Josh Taylor?
Look, I don't know if it's been announced officially, but there's a contract there for the Taylor Catchell fight. So obviously we were just waiting on to be told when it was going to be rescheduled. Again, these things leak out and things will pick up. There's no problems there, I don't think. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I actually only saw that this morning, so I think I'll speak to the team, find out what's going on. But obviously Jack's expecting to fight Josh Taylor, and he signed a contract on that regard, and we were waiting for obviously it was meant to happen on March the 4th. We're now waiting on when Josh is going to be fit.
Are you confident that the rematch still takes place?
Yeah, I am. But I need to find out where it's at, where Josh's fitness is at, and then I'll know.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was Kell Brook. Look, we saw the video, you've commented on it. Is Kell Brook likely to return this year?
Obviously that's a question for him. I think he's keen to for the right fight. I've said that a few times. I think 154 is his right weight. That's why the Liam Smith opportunity potentially could work out. But I'd like to see it based on the fact that he looked so good against Ayman Khan. At the same time, what a way to go out. As I said before, perhaps that was a perfect way to go out. And I know it will always burn inside Kell about getting in that ring again. But we'll see about that.
Yesterday there was a press conference, Joshua Vs Jermaine Franklin. I thought it was an interesting point. Joshua said that he's now focused on money, which is, you being someone who'd watched Joshua's career and trajectory, I wonder what you made of that maybe mentality switch with Joshua kind of stating there, look, I'm about the money now.
I was surprised to hear it just because he's made so much money that I was so glad that he was carrying on boxing, because it's such a hard sport when you get to that level and you've made the money that he has. I imagine it's hard to motivate yourself, especially having come down from being two-time world champion. So I think, look, obviously everyone works for money and fighters do the hardest job in the world. So fair play if it is that's his only motivation. I like to think it's not his only motivation. But no one can judge Anthony Joshua. What he's done for the sport, what he's done for created opportunities for so many other fighters, so many other platforms and everything. So whatever he wants to do now, I think he should be allowed to do. He's achieved huge things for British boxing.
And I'll leave the final word with you. What can people expect to see tuning in this Saturday night?
I'm so excited for this show. I think you're seeing two future superstars in Azim and Caroline Dubois, and Vidal Riley in a very, very entertaining fight with Anis Taj. Anthony Sims Jr. is playing with Zach Chelly. You see them going back and forth. What an interesting fight that is. And Tyler Denny as well, who has become a bit of a fan favourite in these domestic wars that he always seems to come out on top of, and he's having a resurgence in his career. Fights the unbeaten Brad Pauls at 16-0. It's a really fun show. I actually looking forward to this more than many, just because I think it's a real establishment now with Azim. I think Caroline Dubois is progressing so well, and there's the fights that I've talked about as well. It's going to be a great night at Wembley. Come down. Azim's fan base at 7-0 is honestly a joke. 7 fights in, to even be able to headline at any sort of arena is incredible.
Ben, pleasure speaking to you. Looking forward to the fights this weekend. Thanks for speaking to SecondsOut, sir.
Cheers, man.